Ain't nothing wrong with a nice, sunny, breezy day in a race where you get to see so many good cars, items flying around. The good old days. The good old days in 2010. It was so peaceful, so nice. Explosions, left, right, and center. It was the one. It didn't sell jack, bro. But Blur is iconic. Bizarre Creations came up with an idea to make a racing game where I can put both Mario Kart and Burnout in the same room with each other, which is odd because I love these games and it reminds me of both of those games. Blur includes a variety of real life cars in classes A to D and also has 30 stages and real life events, which is crazy because there are some areas that I recognise out of the real life stages, such as Brighton and Hackney. I find it very odd that they included Hackney in this one, because out of all the places in London they chose that. But really, I was hoping they would go somewhere like, I don't know, Westminster, Big Ben, which everyone knows and loves, right? But either way, I still enjoy how much stages they put into this game. It just adds so much variety to it, and it's a lot more fun. So you know there's stages where it includes drift, grippy, speed, and also just off the roads. And those are my favourite things about it, is that they have off the road things, and it's so good when you want to just crash and get into the way of people. It's just so much fun to troll sometimes. The gameplay includes a health bar at the top of the screen, which you're seeing right now, and next to it are podiums and roadmaps and fans. Now with the health bars, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Need for Madness, where every time you start to crash and end up losing your life, you get wasted, and that's what the inspiration came from here. You can also add 3 items to your car, which you're seeing at the bottom right here, but there are 8 items in total. There's a shunt, shock, mime, nitro, barge, shield, bolt, and repair. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory really with the items. My favourite has to be the barge, and every time I use the barge it reminds me of this. And every time I use the bolt in the destruction races, it reminds me of this. I'm sorry, I've been watching too many episodes of The Boys. It's a really good show, you should definitely watch it. It's not for kids. So. Ever since I've been playing this game, this never came close to being on top with Gran Turismo or Need for Speed or even Midnight Club as well. And I generally feel like some of these things could have actually been outshined by Blur itself if it wasn't for the sales actually being done properly. And it's unfortunate they never really got it right. I feel like there were a lot of more racing games that were just more of the same, but really with Blur it's just like something that they didn't even get right, which is variety. In the gameplay of Korea, you are going to face different rivals in each section, and it will give you race, destruction, and one-on-ones, and if you achieve all the bulb lights you'll be able to get it. You'll also be getting a guidance sort of voiceover, which you are hearing right now.
You've met all of Shannon's demands and earned the right to face her in a one-on-one. Do not be fooled by her appearance. She's not just a pretty face, and she won't back down.
I used to think the Class D cars that you would be receiving were absolute piss take, and the way that you saw it, you're like, how am I supposed to beat my rival with this kind of car? But without respects, they actually give you the same car that you're playing against anyway, so it's not really easy. But if you play in the very hard mode, they show no remorse in this one. I find it very odd that you got an American voiceover and you get to do a gameplay over at a place in the UK, which is very weird to me. I don't know how, but it just feels a bit odd but funny. Each time you do a race, whether it's one-on-one race and destructions, the aim is to make sure you get all of these spot on, with the fans being a primary goal is to get 5 bolts, and the fan target is to reach over, aim higher rather than lower, and then you're able to do fan runs. Fan runs are also quite key for those that want to literally accomplish everything that you need in a video game, as most things will be hidden and locked and hard to get through, so don't get discouraged if you don't achieve them. I found it very annoying when I couldn't be able to reach the fan targets or reach over the fan gates, because they were the most difficult ones by far. But with the races I was able to get through it fine, but then again it was just more of something that was a bit challenging at the time, and I find it a bit like, how can I get into certain things if things are in the way? It's just like walking into a brick wall. And each time you beat one-on-ones with different rivals, then you're able to get a lot more mods in the game. So either way, there are really cool mods that they pan out, which I think is quite fun. So at this rate, it's more enjoyable to see something like that happen. Keep in mind for Destruction is that the aim is to make sure you're playing it smart and not harder, because at the same time, when you see cars that are green, they only give you about 1 point. If you see cars that are yellow, they only give you about 3 points, and if you see cars that are red, they give you 5. But when you see two cars colliding with each other, hit the shunts first, so then you can hit the green cars when that are behind, so then that way you can get more points and more combos to your base. And it's great because then the fans would love to see combos and love to see you work smarter, not harder. I do love the gameplay for Destruction though. It's a lot more fun and it's a lot more expressive. In a way where you're able to do so many long wrecking shots and bolts, you just have to aim for the right target. But either way, I still enjoy how much chaos it brings to the table, especially when you're trying to achieve something and earn more points. Talking about variety, they really do bring a lot of that to the table in terms of the cards they used. There is a lot more that you can add towards the class D to A cards to it, and I find it really enjoyable how much they actually give you real life existing cards to the game, and they all you see that today that are really cool and really sick to use. They give you a lot more of the same ones that you can do, but add different colors to it as well, which I think is kind of cool. And you add more mods to your loadout as well, which makes it even better. I mean, imagine if they added the Bugatti to the game. I mean, real life Bugatti, and updated the game and made it more cards. Now, there are some weaker points to the game, and that is the multiplayer game. There are a bit of a terrible, but I wouldn't say terrible, but there were some lackluster netcodes to the game. I mean, I really enjoyed how much you can just play online matches against each other, whether it was a huge amount of people that were into the game, and then you're able to earn a lot more when it comes to giving people the online perspective of racing other people. I just think they never really got it right with the lack of netcodes they bring into it. I thought they could have done better with the mix to it, but at the same time I thought it was a good experience to have. Now, if Bizarre Creation actually was working with Activision and actually made them do more games with them, I feel like they could have literally done more on there by updating and making DLC versions of this game. But either way, I just felt like the amount of greed that Activision bring to the table is what made me disrespect the gaming company a bit more, and I generally did not like the idea of how they had to cut it short. I also think there were some impossible fan targets to do, especially when it came to the Super Drift. I mean, hats off to you for bossing it through, but I don't know, I found it very difficult where there's some things that are just in the way that I just can't do. Now, there was going to be another sequel to the game, which is Blur 2, but there was a footage of the game being in progress where you're racing in Abu Dhabi, which is in Dubai, but I really felt like this could have actually made it to the second game, and with the amount of things that they had to the mix, I thought, you know what, this could be better than the first one, but at the same time they still had to work in progress. But unfortunately for that, it was cut short. But I still felt like with the amount of reviews that it got, it generally felt like it should have got more praise than it did, and it definitely got more fans wondering when they're going to release the next Blur. Even so, I would love it if they actually remastered the game or something, or made more variety to it, like adding the footage of Abu Dhabi or adding more cities such as Beijing. But the thing is, the problem was that they had a game that was released and it didn't do so well, which then made ties between the Bizarre Creation and Activision, and in terms of that, it was just like they had to cut the whole thing short, and it was so sad because I generally thought it had potential to be the greatest game of all time. But ever since I've played this game, I lost my mind. It was so good. It was like, man, you just had to be there for the amount of times you had to play this game and be there and live for the moment. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about this game. I really appreciate you guys listening to me for reviewing this game, and I really hope you guys should try it out. It's very good, it's really enjoyable, and you should definitely check it out because this game is definitely a classic. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and peace.